Hey there, John Gums here with Dakota Grappler. We got the three-headed monster going on tonight. We got Scott Andal with us and Tom Schoenhard. We're going to talk some South Dakota wrestling, a little bit of North Dakota wrestling, mostly South Dakota, but basically here to get the word out for promoting the best sport that's out there. And I guess I'm going to introduce myself, and I'll have each one of these introduce themselves. If you haven't been here before, first time, I am John Gums. I am the owner and editor of Dakota Grappler. Been doing this actually since 1999. I started and I did my first book out of Mobridge, South Dakota. And from there, I kind of advanced it, moved from school to school, teaching a little bit where they didn't have wrestling. And so I had to stay involved one way or another. Basically did both North and South Dakota. And so all the stuff with technology, that's still pretty new. I started actually the website itself, dakotagrappler.com, back in 2003, and then it just kept going. Message board's crazy. I had to separate between two different places. So if you go to Dakota Grappler, you can also go to wrestlingmessageboards.com. That's me also. Just I had to separate them between two different places because of the traffic, and when one crashes, I can still put up stuff on the other one. So if you ever wondered about that. And so there are links, and I put up a new website, lots of content, and it's always going to get better with Dakota Grappler as we keep advancing the technology. But so I'm going to have Scott go next. I'll have him introduce himself. And, what I wanted, one of his first questions is how he first got involved in wrestling coaching, that is. If it just started off natural or somebody have to drag you in there. Okay, start off.
Yeah, I came out of college and actually did my student teaching. I was assigned to one school, and I seen Tri-Valley had assistant wrestling open. So I moved my student teaching over there back in 91, the fall of 91, and did my student teaching there. And came to Salem. It was McCook Central at the time, and I've been here since 92. And but I suppose the drive and the love of the sport is what kept me going. Came right out of college and right into it, just kept going into coaching. And some days I wonder why I'm still doing it, but I love it. So.
Oh, you got the kids, you know it. Okay.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yep. And then we got Tom over here on my far right. I don't know for you guys what you see out there, but I'll have Tom introduce himself. Got to talk to him last week. Enjoyed our conversation. Love to have a lot more. Here's Tom.
Right. Thank you for being on again. Yeah, for those of you that saw me last week, I'm a Chamberlain native. Graduated from here in high school. I live out here in Rapid City. Been involved in wrestling in different levels, for the most part on the youth side, but I follow the high school side and some college as well. And just really got into wrestling more so because of the people I met. Some great people, some good relationships. The wrestling obviously is good in South Dakota and in the area. My kids got into it. So that's really how I got my start.
Okay. Now, for both of you guys, you both have kids. What's the hardest part as a coach and as a parent at the same time? I'll let you start.
Balancing coaching with the kid. That's my biggest concern. I was a late bloomer. I have a 9-year-old daughter. Me and my wife do, and she's wrestled the last 3 years, so that's put the extra stress on me. But I enjoy it. She's going to play basketball this year, so we'll see. But
do you get butterflies in your stomach when she was wrestling? You get nervous?
Yeah, I did, especially last year. Last year, I knew she had a good shot at doing good, and it's nice because in her girls' bracket, they had 16 girls, so it was a full bracket. And to see her get sixth place, and actually you have to win matches to get to state and win matches at state. I was more proud of her then, I said, than her first year when it was just her and one other girl. So.
Well, that is awesome. How about you, Tom?
And we talked last week, I've coached my kids to about U12, and then the real coaches like Andal can jump in there, and coach these kids. But, it was hard. I'll give you an example. I was up in Sturgis this weekend for a middle school tournament. They had over 500 kids at Sturgis on Saturday for a middle school tournament. A lot of Wyoming kids. They can't come up as 7th and 8th graders, but my son was wrestling in the semis and was leading 7-2 and didn't let go of a single when the kid tipped him over on his back and got defensive pin. And he didn't really know what happened, lesson learned, but it was hard to watch. But I've kind of tried to do my best to let those coaches coach, and just stay on the sidelines. And it's hard as a parent. And even when they're young, it's hard to stay in the stands when they're getting manhandled. But, at some time you got to let them go and, just cheer for them and, and hopefully, go back and get the best you can get, after that. So it was an interesting weekend, but it was fun to see kids on the mat, and, it was an awesome day.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've got a freshman who really grew this last year. He weighed 108 pounds last year. Now weighs a solid about 150, 152. And so as his body grew, his muscles didn't quite yet. And so I'm still trying to keep it within my head as a coach going, oh man, he's going to face some kids because he's just a freshman at 152. He's going to take a licking a few times this year. And I'm just kind of hold my breath and kind of just grin and bear it a little bit. But so it's going to be interesting. I used to get really nervous. Now I get more, I'd say, excited energy a little bit, where I want to see him do so well that I've got to just kind of hold back and try not to get involved. He has some good coaches where he's at Bismarck Century, and I want them to do their job, and I have a hard time staying back, but I do. I sat in the stands last night for one of the first times where I did not go down the floor even close until after the duel. And it was crazy. I know they had a duel that got tied. They were tied. So we talked a little about this. Century lost some matches they never should have. Jamestown lost a couple of matches they shouldn't. And then some of the young kids, Century's way out of place. They had guys not at weight yet. So there was only one of their wrestlers at the regular weight. Everybody else was up at least a weight, or some even two, where the coach had to have some kids eat before they stepped on the scale. So they were like 1/10 over their weight, and so they could bump up 2 weight classes. Like they had, for an example, they have 2 38-pounders that are decent, 2 brothers actually, and they decided both of them, one's going to have to weigh in at 38 and one at 38.1, and the one at 38.1 actually ended up weighing 38.3, but he had to wrestle 52. And he got himself kind of spanked around a little bit last night. But it was fun. The kids work hard, and that's what I like to see. So I want to ask you, Scott, now you'd mentioned your numbers are pretty good at 26. Where do you kind of focus? Can you actually send your kids at 2 different locations? Do you have a second coach that can help you, or do you just try to keep your team all together?
Practice-wise, we stay all together, but we have a room that we got about 3 years ago, actually wrestling room, and we still go back out in the balcony. Our younger kids, we kind of split it up about halfway through, keep the younger kids out there. During the season, we kind of all go the same place on a Saturday. I'm blessed that most of the tournaments we're in, we can get unattached, so we do that. We used to split up first weekend of January. We used to go to Miller and send the JV to Madison JV. But a couple years ago, we dropped Miller and went to Lyman 2-day, the big Mid-Dakota Monster thing.
Yep.
And they let everybody in. So we take our team because I like to have that, because you stay overnight, that team concept builds. So, we try to stay together as much as we can as far as competition. But practice, we split it up. And I won't even say older, younger. It's more experience, inexperience.
Okay.
Last year we had sophomores out with 7th and 7th graders.
Mm-hmm. The same coaches as you did last year.
What's that?
You have the same coaches who were helping you last year. Same
the same 2. I have Josh Blindert and BJ Havard. I've had them. We've been together about 5 years now, so things are really good. We added Bailey Menace. He wrestled for Madison. I graduated in 2017. He's a power lineman doing an internship here at Southeast in Salem. And between the mutual friends, he got hooked up with me, and he's been in our room, and it's unbelievable. You get that youth. And then Coach Blindert tore up his knee last year, put it off, and now he had to have surgery. So this is about perfect thing that ever happened to us. Got a young guy in there, and I threw him the other day. He was shocked when I go, "It's yours. Go in there, show that technique." I said, "I'm 52 years old. You're young. Go ahead. I'll enjoy this." So he's a blessing.
I'll stand back and keep my knees feeling good.
Yep, exactly.
How about you, Tom? I know that numbers are good. Have you had a chance? Do you get to step in the room a little bit and just see what's happening, or do you guys just look from a distance?
Yeah, we've got probably close to 40 without bringing up the eighth graders. We normally don't bring up seventh graders unless they're pretty salty and maybe have a shot at varsity. We kind of let them wrestle the middle school circuit. And then, they're kind of in no man's land for AAU, but, with our schedule, it doesn't necessarily make some seventh graders want to come back, if they have a bad outing or, they have, because as Scott knows, and I mean, you could wrestle a senior, in some of those tournaments. We're blessed in the sense that we split up about 4 times during the year, and our kids are able to wrestle. Our JV kids wrestle varsity B schedule down in Custer, Hot Springs, Bennett County, Belle-Fourche, some of those tournaments. So it's a great opportunity for those kids to compete, at a high level, but also, get an opportunity to compete as a team and score points as a JV team, et cetera. So
right.
We'll probably be close to 50, I'm guessing, with 10 or so eighth graders, by the end of middle of December, probably.
Yep. Yeah. I was just listening to Gerald Lamar, our head coach at Century, just today, that they had 5:45 there at the room this morning, 6 a.m. practice because of Thanksgiving, so they could have the afternoon off. But one of the things he was saying as they were exiting is that he was trying to remind everybody on how well they did last night. But he was telling them that, guess what? There's a couple guys that worried about being JV, I think. And he says, we don't have any JV wrestlers because all of ours, and it's maybe the blessing of being at a Class A school, they don't wrestle any JV tournaments. They go to Class B tournaments if they separate, which is still a varsity tournament, and so when they go to Jamestown, for a tournament, they'll face like a Carrington. They'll face like a Napoleon. They'll face some of these Lemoores, these other smaller schools. But the competition is not at a level where you're just expecting to walk in and wrestle kids. You're gonna have to be ready at every meet. So it's kind of good. You want to get your guys good competition, but you also want to kind of level it out so that you get them some success also, finding those early successes. So tell me a little bit about how you changed your schedule this year to try to get in. Now I have to ask you first, Scott, I think you're going to want to be in the duel. So are you going to have to actually request to get in or make that statement that you want to be in the duel competition? And
the rules are December 31st. You have to declare if you want.
Declare. Okay.
So, yeah, to the state activities associations.
And what was the rule again? Was it they have to have 10 for sure on weights filled, or what is
Class A is 10 out of 14, B is 8 out of 14.
Okay. And then how did you switch your schedule up this year a little bit at all so you can get a certain amount of duels in?
Well, it's 8 duels minimum, but we've been way over that, and we're probably even over more now. I think we're wrestling 23 duels this year.
How many?
One thing, 23. We'll have 23 duels. And and it can hurt you. It can help you or it can hurt you. We wrestled some pretty good competition. We're actually the Phillip tournament because their Black Hills Conference tournament got moved, their conference tournament. So Phillip tournament went away, was going to go away. And I worked with Coach Donley, and now we're on that Friday before that conference tournament. The Friday we're going out there 4 East-West, 4 of us from the East. It's us, Wagner, Redfield area, and Kimball White Lake, Platte Geddes. And we're going to duel Phillip area, Hot Springs, Lee Deadwood. Was supposed to be Custer Edgemont, but something happened with their schedule, so they're not going to make it. Sturgis on the way to the Mitchell tournament, they're going to stop in and they're going to wrestle us. So we'll get a wrestle Sturgis. So.
Got to get some matches in.
Yeah, we'll get some matches. So that's why we exploded on the dual side. But
sure.
We're looking, we'll definitely be throwing our hat in the fire here. And
will you be able to
work out? These points are supposed to work out. I've been in with the Activity Association trying to figure stuff out because I'm like, I might lose 3-4 duels, 5 duels maybe. Some of these guys wrestling 8 duels, but if you wrestle 8 duels and 6 or 7 are teams that are under 500, they don't win many, then they say a guy like our team like us that's might end up with be 20 or 17-5 or something, would
right.
Still be able to get in by the point system. So we'll see. We're excited. I'm excited about it. Our kids we're leery. Okay, how you get the individual and all that, but I'm kind of excited because they didn't limit us to 17. So, they're going to place top 4, not all 8. So if you lose the first round, you're done. But if you make it the other 2 rounds, I like it because if I do have a couple kids that are focusing on that state title, or I think that might, hinder them or whatever. If I got 26 kids I'm going to let my other kids have a shot at it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. That's an awesome idea. Now, I tell you what, in North Dakota, we can bring, besides the 14, you've got your 3 extras. What are they doing for extras in your duels?
That's what they're letting us take our whole team right now. It's supposed to have been 17, but this year something got missed on it. So you can take Shonar, they could take all 50 kids if they want.
I don't think our AD would want to pay for that, but we'd love to.
They'll be asking the club to pitch in.
And we would.
Oh, yeah.
Same here. That's our club already spoke up. They said they stopped it. We'll take care of you.
I tell you what, you put a big pack of kids on the side of that mat. You have 40 kids, and then you put them in a group. You don't know who's coming out to wrestle. You have to check in at the head table. It'd be kind of interesting. I tell you what, you guys have had guys in the past who have been studly wrestlers who can't make it on the team, and I think it'd be a good idea for them to stick with the team because guess what? You could be an extra in the duels. I think that'd be a huge benefit for a coach saying, guess what? If you guys get to take an unlimited number, maybe you got a half a dozen juniors and seniors that can't break the team but are pretty salty, that guess what? Giving an experience a match would be a very good thing for the team.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, our coach, Travis King, was excited about that. He actually brought it up at the parent meeting. Said, look, even you're wrestling junior varsity and, but you still might go to state. I mean, we still might need you. We might want to take you. If you're a sophomore or junior, getting an opportunity to wrestle in front of that many fans so that next year or the year after that, when you're there wrestling individual, you've already done it.
Right. I tell you what, that's awesome. I've seen that happen in North Dakota. We've had it for quite a while. Just lucky, South Dakota varies from the rules when I go through their stuff different because they've always kind of been the rebel when it comes to not needing somebody on like the national committee. North Dakota's always wanted somebody on that national committee, so we haven't got to vary much from the rules. There's certain ones like, for an example, number of weight classes. We've wanted to change for years, actually reduce the number of weight classes, but we just never have because they always want, somebody from the High School Activities Association to be like top notch and get to vote, get that official vote. And so until that happens, I don't know.
It's about ready to happen, maybe, right, Scott?
Yeah, I think it is. Yep.
Yeah, one of our activities guys is trying to get on the national board, and that was one of the concerns that if we get on there and we have to go to the Pennsylvania weights, then what? Is it going to be what's best for our state or what's good for everybody else? And we don't always have as many big kids. We've got a lot of younger kids at the lower weights, especially. So, and that's been a benefit for our kids, I think, to come up and get that experience. And by the time they're sophomores and juniors, they've had 3 or 4 years experience.
Right. Either one of you guys catch any of the college stuff this last week or you guys pay attention to much of the college stuff? Northern or?
I tell you, I was just talking to somebody today. A couple weeks ago, went West River hunting, and I taped that Virginia Tech Ohio State duel. I had no idea. I was out of the loop. I had no idea that Virginia Tech beat them. Yeah. And I watched it. It was exciting. And I like Big Ten, so I'm pumped about this Sunday night. I'll be right in front of the screen, little Iowa, Wisconsin. see a little Seth Gross getting back at Iowa one more time. It'll be exciting. Locally, yeah, I've been kind of watching DW. They're right in our back door here.
Right.
A couple kids that are interested, maybe going on to college wrestling finally. So we're kind of excited. We've been watching DW a lot.
Right. I thought about if there wouldn't be weather coming in, we're going down to Augie because NDSU wrestles Augie on Sunday.
Yeah, that way I thought about running in there. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
I wouldn't mind, but I tell you what, as the snow comes, my wife goes, no. she likes me enough to keep me home, I guess. Sometimes.
Yeah, there you go.
So the other day I was driving to a tournament up in Minot, and I've got a little dash cam. I can put my phone there. That's hands free. All I have to do is click over and hit Facebook Live. And my wife, as soon as I go live, she's chewing me out on Facebook. She's going, "What are you doing? You're not safe," and all this other stuff. And I'm going, "Oh, come on! I can watch the road. I don't even have to look really at the camera. It's like talking on a phone. It's hands free." I don't know. I don't know if it's one of those things. Trying to go live and talk wrestling. It's interesting. But there is something new that I invested in. I invested in something called a Black Magic board. And this Black Magic board is going to allow me to actually go to wrestling tournaments and use a real camera where it processes it, so it's not like a webcam where you could zoom in, you could watch the matches, kind of the very high-tech stuff that you could see somewhere else. So we're going to see as the next few years, I'll be able to go even, let's say, go to somebody's duel and put on just an individual thing on live besides just this type of thing. So it's kind of cool, kind of interesting. Oh, what are you doing? I notice, Scott, you get on quite a bit and you post stuff, a little social media. You're running your kids and doing different things. Are you doing that? What's your main purpose for doing that?
Trying to get our some exposure out there. My kids have changed. I'm an old man, but they like the technology. And they like show. It's not showboating. They like to be out there. So we do that. I'm more social media in the last 2 years than I was the first 25 years I was here. So kids enjoy it. They give me crap because in the football season I was giving a bunch of putting little videos for them getting pumped up and after the new football coach and stuff. But yeah, so whatever makes them kids click, as long as they win, that's all I care. So
I was hoping to see some more of those T-shirts you were putting on.
I know everybody's been begging to get back on that.
Yeah, I was wanted you to squeeze into some of those mediums you wore back in about '85.
Yeah. I'll be squeezing.
Yeah. How about Tom? What is your school been doing with social media? What's the focus here?
We probably don't do as good a job as Scott with some of that stuff. I know he's been great, even on your website, with the message board. He gets back to people. He puts stuff out there. I try to do the same. I emulate some of the things that he's done to try to get information out there to people. And I think somebody had personal messaged me a couple of years ago and said that their grandfather used to open up those brackets on Sunday morning on the Grappler, and it was like reading the paper, for baseball box scores, which we all used to look at and enjoy that. But, our AD and our school put some things out there. We do broadcast a lot of our home duels. And then Central, actually, Rapid City Central, they live stream a lot of the tournaments they're at. So the Rotary and Mandan and some of that. But, we could do a little bit more with that. But, you really need somebody that's good at that, like a team mom or a team dad. Because, as in my role at Stevens, it's more to do everything outside of coaching, just help with the other stuff, that's kind of where we are. But, I think our kids are, like Scott said, they like that stuff. We talked about it last week with what Bono said. People want to click on stuff. They don't want to have to find it. They want you to give it to them. And, the worst case scenario, they don't click on it. But if we don't give it to them, they may not ever find out about some of this stuff like Scott was talking about. So I think, Flow Wrestling's been great. You mentioned that earlier, the duels, watching those. The Iowa State duel this weekend was fantastic. There's some pretty competitive matches. Watching Brands' son wrestle and win that match. I mean, that was a big match for him. And being up from 160 in high school to 184 is a big jump for him. But so I think, we could always do better. And you never know how much is enough, but somebody will probably tell you.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what.
My wife tells me every day. Damn Facebook.
Have you ever done your duels live there, Scott? Have you ever, when your duels?
I kind of like it. We used to do this cube thing. It was perfect. But now, today's world, NFHS, they got to have money. So that's what we got. We put all these new cameras in, all this stuff. But the problem is now Grandpa and Grandma got to pay $6.99 a month. And I know it's not much money, but I liked it when it was free.
I agree. That's been my whole goal with Dakota Grappler the whole time is guess what? I want to give it to people if possible, all the information. My dad once told me I was foolish for not charging people, and I said that's not what it's about. I've never wanted it that way. You could make some money. No, it's just not me. So I tell you what, I'll work for my money. I don't need other people just to click on something and make sure I get paid. It's not it. It's the same with coaching. It's one of those things. If we all could get paid more, but it hasn't been about that or being around the sport. Helping out at the tournaments. I'm pretty sure, Tom, you haven't made sure the towel workers are there for the pay you get.
Oh yeah, the pay is I get to sit on the 50-yard line when the finals start, which is enough for me. I enjoy that, and it's fun to be on the floor. It was a little harder last year with my son wrestling, but before that, it was easy, and I get a chance to meet the kids, and I even know some of Scott's kids, wrestle on duels with them, and it's awesome. It really is. It's great.
Yeah. I had my son experience that the last couple of years. I had him take photos, and I get to sit right on the mat during like the finals. And when I do the broadcasting, so I'm right there beside it, and I had him start taking pictures instead of me. And he thought it was unbelievable. I mean, he came back going, "This is the greatest thing ever," because he used to sit right there with all the action. And then I did. Now here's what's interesting. I got to pick up my hardcover books today, which is pretty cool. Trying to figure out the camera with 3 people here, but they are beautiful. They're awesome. And so if any of the people that are on the one chatting, I was going to tell them, anybody that's chatting tonight, if you email me, johngums@dakotagrappler.com, I get my first bulk mailing out right after Thanksgiving here. Anybody in the chat is going to get a free book tonight. So Susie out there, Buck, if you want a book, if Rob wants a book, anybody, Mark, I'll send them out with my bulk mailing this week, and then I'll get you, Scott, and all those other people, of course. But just it's amazing of what the sport can do. I appreciate the lifelong friendships that you make. It's one thing. I mean, I joke with people. I like it how you mentioned last week when I talked to you when you went to the grocery store. I thought about that quite a bit. And the first thing some mother asks you is, what does your kid weigh?
Yeah.
What are they talking about? They don't know wrestling.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Tell me about some of the lifelong friendships you guys make through the sport.
I made tons. Mostly, you know what? I always say coaches. I have made such good friends through coaches going on these national trips and stuff. But the kids are the big thing. I've got, I was out hunting this couple weeks ago, West River hunting. I'm running into kids. They're not kids anymore. They're adults like me. They're out there hunting and stuff. Or, you're walking through. It wasn't even Cabela's. I was watching at a gas station in Murdo, and hey, Coach Andal, how you doing? He graduated like 5 years ago. You remember me? Yeah, I remember we went to Junior Olympics back down Virginia Beach, and so those are the things that mean a lot to me. When I run into somebody like that, like my wife says, "Geez, 1 minute conversation, you never shut up, turns into 10 minutes." But I love it. That's where I meet a lot of kids through going on these trips. The national trips are huge. Mm-hmm. Huge is for coaching to meet other kids and meet other coaches. I mean, old Shoney out there, old chalk man over there. I mean, I never met him if it wasn't for wrestling. That's how life is. So,
yep, I think we're all blessed. I can go to anywhere. My wife is mad because I'll be in the Mall of America and somebody will run up to me. Hey, it's the grappler guy. What you doing? And or it's Gums. And out of the blue. I've always been known as Gums. Nobody knows me. I should cross off that little name in the corner here of John because I'm Gums to everybody. I'm not. And it is funny, but it's with wrestling or maybe a little bit of softball or a few other things I do, but it's wrestling, it really is. Yeah. Well, Scott, tell me about your schedule coming up. Where's your first duels? I know you're trying to get on the mat. You guys have had a little bit out of school. Tell me.
We had our middle school started end of October, and we had a Chamberlain tournament. Great, we did great. I mean, my two assistants took the 12 kids out there, and we had 8 champions. I mean, the kids started out right with a bang. Also went to Lyman yesterday, but due to weather, we got snowed out on that one. The varsity will kick off next weekend. Top of the Rock tournament over in Del Rapids. Always a good tournament because Canton's in there, Bonham, Scotland. So we get to see some of the top B schools right out of the chute. And then the 10th is our first big one at home here. We're gonna use the Montrose gym, which we don't use once a year, and we love it because it's small atmosphere. You know, everybody's breathing on you, spitting on you. I kind of like it. I'm gonna duel ACDC and gonna duel Elk Point Jefferson, and then West Sioux, Iowa, who took it to us last year. So my kids have since last year they're pissed off. They're like, this is on their target. They're like, they know we're gonna have a challenge.
What team's ACDC? Is that
Andy Central, Dakota Christian? Yep.
Oh, okay, I was thinking they had Thunderstruck as their.
Yeah, that's their name. Yeah, Thunderstruck. Yep, that is actually their nickname for the.
No,
team.
oh no, not really.
Yeah, yep.
Oh no, I was joking. Okay.
No, you got it right. So, you know, and I give that coach down there credit, man. They were like 2 years ago, they tried to get this thing going, 2-3 kids. Well, an old buddy of mine had it going as Andy Central, and then they had Dakota Christian. They're down to 2-3 kids. And last year they put like 5 on the mat. I was looking today, and I think they're going to put like 8 or 10 kids.
Awesome.
So good for them. But like I said, my kids are pumped. They're just this West Sioux. They're a good team out of Iowa, you know, right across the border. And quickly, like 2 years into this quad, and now we have it's like a neighboring school that you hate, you know. I mean, we get along with them, but it's like this is a duel that my kids want to.
We better win. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to prove something, coach, early in the season. And weight will be our problem. Now, like you were talking earlier, I'm gonna have kids up 1-2 weights. They'll be coming down for Christmas. But I told them, I said, you know, come off a semifinal, good football season, so they're going to wrestle where they're at, and we'll work our way down.
Mm-hmm. Is South Dakota going to the descent plan?
Not yet, but I see it coming. I know it's going to happen. So
okay. Now you're still part of the advisory board?
Nope. No, I got off that 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yep. I still do the help with the seeding, the state tournament, all that stuff. But the actual Class B advisor, Chris Seiler, took over for me 2 years ago. So.
Okay. I think you might have mentioned that now that I think about it.
He's still got his hands in the cookie jar, though. He's got the ear of those guys.
I try to, but sometimes they want to kick me out. You know, I'm an old man.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing, you know, you talked earlier about friendship stuff. And I was just talking to my wife the other day. I said, God dang it. I said, I got here in 92, and now it's goddamn 2019. I said, other than that old John Hanson down Burt Gregory, I said, I'm the Kenny Rummel. I'm ready to kick me out of here, all these young coaches. But,
yeah, you still dress up at state. I don't know if Rummel ever did.
Yeah, you're right there.
He always had the sweats on, and he looked like he was wrestling still.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I tell you what, there's a few programs out there that I'm really impressed with over the last few years. I think Kimball, that group, has done a good job putting some numbers back on because, you know, you think of how that was a few years back. Miller, Highmore, all those guys. It kind of goes through the fluctuations of things through different regions. You know, Redfield, you go back a half a dozen years ago, they had gone through the ups and downs. And now they're looking good again. It takes somebody really serious with a program, and you have to have the kids. You have to have somebody working at every level. And if you kind of miss one of those steps, you know, it could be that junior high coach. It could be that, you know, somebody's helping out with the club. And, you know, I don't know if I want to say this, but Scott, you've kind of been a one-man band for a long time there. And I've said that with some other coaches like Berwick out of Hettinger. He's had some good help, but I don't know what some of these towns would do once they do retire. And that's where I fear for you, Scott. You know, you've done such a great job in your community. So I don't know.
Yeah,
are you building somebody up so you can take over for you someday?
I hope for somebody. I told my two assistants the other day, I said, you know what? You got to start hitting the AAU because I still do the little kids AAU, and
Right.
I'm sure I will never give it up. But I told both of them, I said, it's your future coming up. Like you mentioned earlier, I got a 9-year-old daughter. She hits high school. If she's not doing this wrestling, she's doing basketball. I told my school and everything, everybody knows I'd like to step back and be a dad for a few years and let somebody else take the reins over. So,
Yep. And I tell you what, it's tough. How about you, Tom? I think I asked you last week. Do you consider yourself a lifer? You know, I consider myself a lifer. I don't know. I have a boy that's a freshman, and I know I won't give it up when he's done.
I doubt it. I've met too many people, and by the time probably that I'm, my kids are done, those kids will be coaching that I knew from 5 years ago or whatever. They might be coaching at McCook by then, or whatever. So I enjoy it, and it's just it's a great opportunity to work state tournaments and get an opportunity to work the Rapid City Invite and meet just some great people and like Scott and others. And I don't know. I don't want to trade that for nothing, other than in the summer, like I said, I do a little baseball umpiring, but outside of that, that doesn't affect the wrestling too much.
Yep. I'm gonna have to catch up to you sometime down there when I'm in Rapid. Like I said, I love baseball myself. That was honestly, when it came to spring wrestling, I never did do it because I always look forward to baseball so much. I should have done more freestyle and Greco. I had two of the best Greco and freestyle wrestlers in my own room that begged me to be there, Terry and Troy Steiner.
Right.
I mean, and you kind of forget about it because what's interesting is when you're 15, 16 years old and their passion was wrestling and kind of my passion was baseball in the spring. I mean, when it came to first day school started till state wrestling tournament, it was on. It was wrestling. I quit football to just wrestle. We'd start wrestling in the fall when school started, and then we'd go 3-a-day practices. We'd go in the morning. We'd go before practice started, and then we'd go at practice. The coach basically gave a key to Terry and Troy Steiner and said, "Open up the room." And I've got crazy stories about Terry and Troy Steiner. I could go on forever, but it's kind of I should almost not because it's like I talk about them too much. But honestly, their motivation level at such a young age was phenomenal. It's like if you talk about the Lincoln McElravies or the any of those kids, you talk about the Seth Grosses. They've got something different about them that drives them to a different level. There's a motivation. There's this will to not quit. It's not just talent. There's something beyond that.
And it's getting harder. I think, and Scott, you've probably seen it. The younger kids, the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, with social media and games and Fortnite and all that other fun stuff they do, it's harder to get them motivated to do that. And, you don't want to start them too young. I saw something, Willie Saylor and Ben Askren were talking about, whether kids should be wrestling 9 and under or over that. I mean, I don't know where the right number is, but, just to keep them out and keep them motivated, what are we doing for that? And it's hard because every kid's different. You've got, like you said, the McElravies that you don't have to motivate kids like that, but the kids that are on the fence or maybe a 9th or 10th place kid at state, or they get to regions and get 5th and they don't get a chance to go and it's hard work. They might not stick it out. And those are the kids you need, to get 8th or 7th and get yourself up in the standings down the road. And it's getting harder and harder to do that.
Yep. Scott, I believe it's a lot about building a trust factor, having these kids trust you and you bring them along, they bring you along. I don't know. And you got to catch them early. It's tougher. It's tougher to catch them at that 7th, 8th, 9th grade level. I know at our high school, we don't have a coach at Century where my son's at. There's no coach in high school, no wrestling coach. And I don't know, that's where you start missing kids. If you don't have somebody grabbing a couple out of the hallway and say, "Hey, why don't you give this a shot?" I think that's a problem in a lot of school districts is where when the coaches are not in it, that makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah, you're right. that's kind of the thing we were talking. You asked earlier about when I got to move on, what's going to happen to stuff like that, and I've had that conversation with my administration, with my assistants. Is got to get somebody in that school system. I was blessed. I taught the school system for 10 years. Took 11 years off. Kept coaching. Came back. Don't even coach there. I actually coach at the colony school. But just the relationship I built with the teachers, administration, the kids and everything, things keep going. I was blessed. One of my assistants, now he took a different job, but he was in our school system as a paraeducator for 4 years while he was assistant coach. And he was our guy that just hit the hallways. And I'll be honest, we've been blessed the last couple of years. I've had them kids that, I don't know about big weights, but I've had kids come out late, like maybe did AAU and quit and went basketball or went nothing. And then suddenly as a sophomore, junior, yeah, I'll come back out for wrestling. And they end up in the state meet just because we get lucky, mold them by the end of the season and stuff. But it's getting harder and harder to, like Tom said, it's hard to, the younger kids are hard. You got to keep them that little focus with them and keep them motivated, keep that carrot in front of them. They got a lot of other things that distract them.
Are you still involved with your National Guard stuff?
Yes. Oh yeah, I'm still in. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Still pump a few kids that way every day and every year or whatever. And
the military background, keep them straight and narrow.
Yep. I've been blessed. One thing I always like is when the kids come back. Of course, it takes them till like they're adults, 25, and then they come back. They're like, "Man, coach, that's the best thing you ever talked me into is joining the Guard or the Reserve or whatever."
Drop and give me 20 and
yeah, I always tell them that and they laugh at me though. Like one of them is an officer now, 26. Like, I'm above you, coach. I said, "Yep, you are. You're right."
Yeah.
I'm old. I'm not going to drop, but
Oh, that's pretty cool. You're still involved. I thank you for your service. I've never thanked you before. That's pretty cool.
Oh, I enjoy it. Well, it's like my wife says, don't get unhealthy. We need the insurance.
Don't get unhealthy. It happens. How about this? Any questions for you, Scott, on this? Have you ever had any, let's say, surgeries because of wrestling or anything? Have you had to ever have, a knee or
minor stuff? I should have had maybe, I always tell the story. I wrestled in college, and that's what ended my college career is my shoulders. But I decided to move on to coaching and getting, stuff like that. And, I've just had nothing minor stuff, stitches, eyes, stuff like that. All my major surgeries, one was military related. So
okay. You have any wrestler ever just beat you up in the room?
Well, that happens every day now. I'm old. But yeah, I've had a few bumps and bruises from a few kids. One of the guys who still was my assistant for a while, used to wrestle for me. He's still in our school system, Owen Sandine. He gashed my eye open year 2 I was here. 14 stitches with a hip bone, but
it's a bragging rate probably for them a little bit.
Hey, he reminds me every day, trust me.
Yeah, I had a kid once throw an elbow and caught me, and it sliced me right on the eye a little bit up here, and he was bragging forever that he got in a fight with Mr. Gums at practice. And I said, "Oh man, he hit me so hard." I was just trying to give him a good time, and it was pretty funny. We had to go for quite a while. No, it's pretty good. No, okay. A couple other things. What is now getting your kids in shape? What are you doing early in the season here? Now I know you've missed a couple of practices. Can you run 2-a-days where you're at? I know you got the split schools and all the other things. What are you going to do to try to get your guys in shape here before Christmas?
If we have to, we'll run 2-a-days. Otherwise, we stay with one. Years ago, we used to run 2-a-days a lot of times. When like this year, we went to the state semi-final. We did end up. We had a week off. The kids had a week off, so we decided instead of 2-a-days, they wanted to start day one. I've had other teams in the past when this happened. The year we went to the Dome, we didn't start till Thanksgiving week, then went 2-a-days. And even with split schools, basically the morning practice is lifting, running. So one coach goes to one school, one stays in the other. We do that. We come together after school. But we've done a little late season stuff of that, but I'm not a big late season 2-a-day guy.
Right. No. No.
We usually, I like to have my kids ready by then. I don't want to kill them. I want to have them ready. Early in the season too, we I just like, I don't know. Tom's been around a long time too. I just came to the conclusion things have changed for this old guy. I'm afraid of peaking too early. And if we and a couple kids last year said, well, it will cost me a seed at the state tournament. Yeah, but look what you still finished above the guy, We took care of business, So early in the season, yeah, we'll drop a few, individual matches, shape, wrestling 2 weights above, that kind of stuff. But I'd rather live through that and be ready at the end of the season. That's the biggest thing. That's kind of one of the dads told me today. I had a lunch with one of my wrestling dads, and his boy wrestles for me. And he said, how do you get him to peak at the end? I said, I don't know, but I'm not going to change it. It's just our scheme we have. We stay with it. And we've been blessed. I'm not going to say I've been here 27 years, that all 27 years worked out perfect, but I could go on the record and say 22 out of 27 have been really good.
That is pretty good. No, I was talking to a couple of your parents the last couple of years I've gone through there, Scott, and I've missed you both years. I'll sit in there and I've always, I don't have enough hair, but I want to sit down and visit with your barber. He's been a super guy there. I can sit in there and he's got a Coke in my hand before I even sit down. Or something, he's got his pop machine in there. And then I've stopped in and talked to Cheeseman, another guy who can talk your ear off, but he acts like he's really, really busy. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but he's a tough guy to actually, it looked like he wasn't doing anything and they had just waited around. Then we talked forever, but it was, and then the other one, when I go into trying to think of the geyser or the outside of town.
Oh, Gessner Welding. Yep.
Right. And that's another one who it's sarcasm, right? As soon as the old man steps in the door, and what are you here for? And he knows what I am. And how much money are you trying to get out of me? But it's right. Oh yeah. And then we start talking a little bit of wrestling and how well he's done. And all of a sudden, I'm there for a half hour instead of the 5 minutes I should be. And so it's kind of interesting. And that's the relationship I start building, because anybody that's ever supported Dakota Grappler, I've met them all. It's what it's about. I want the people, like in this book, they're wrestling supporters within the towns, and it helps me get it out to them. And it's phenomenal, because wrestling's that tight knit group. If you get them involved, they're there for a long time, and they're great supporters of their kids, the community. They're very, very good business people in mind, and the $50 they give to Dakota Grappler or whatever is phenomenal. I mean, I can't even thank them enough on what they've done to make sure we get wrestling its say out there. And if you have a chance, Scott, I'll send you a couple extra. I always enjoy you getting those out there. Tom, same with you. If you have anybody out there, it's one place. I tell you what, here's a mistake I do as a wrestling person. I spend all my time in the small towns. Because honestly, it's hard in a big town. There's a bunch of wrestling supporters, but if I don't know who they are, it would take me, 2 days to find an advertiser in Rapid City, where I can get through 20 of them in the small towns. So,
right.
And that's probably my fault a little bit. I did spend some time in Pierre this last year and visited, of course, with their head coach, and he gave me names, and it was the most successful thing I've probably done in Pierre. But it took me 2 days to get out of there talking wrestling with those guys. They're so good. And he's a phenomenal. I tell you what, they've had a program there. Definitely.
Yes, they have.
Okay, now how about this? How about any predictions, Scott? If you could, how in your region, who's looking tough, and maybe statewide? I know Canton is phenomenal, but who you looking for? Probably top 6 or so people, probably in the stands and making the podium.
And will be up top. I think Redfield area is going to surprise a lot of people this year. Winners in there again. They got a great group of kids. Bill Parker's coming on. Howard's tradition. I'll say it. I'm expecting MCM to be somewhere in there. And you got your Wagners, your Parkston. just they're both good teams. I mean, they're traditionally powerhouses. Bonham, Scotland, they're in there every year. Just somehow they get it done. I look for them to chase toward the top, even though people think they're down a little bit. I know their team, and they got some good younger kids coming that will start plugging in there and stuff.
Yep. Donnelly finds a way always out in Phillip.
Phillip's automatic. That guy, he's a legend. He just keeps them coming. They're ranch kids. They're hardcore. They're nonstop. I mean, I've taken going to national trips with them and everything, and watching them is unbelievable. And there's I'm kind of interested how Lee Deadwood does. They lost their coach. They got some good kids. I'm not saying top 6 team wise. I've just been impressed with that team the last 2-3 years. The way that program has come around.
Vogelai and those guys have done. Yeah. He did a very good job, and he's with Rapid City in there now. He left the program better than he started with it, and that'd be a goal as any coach. If you leave, you leave it better than you came with.
Yep. And of course, the wild man out west. I mean, Custer Edgemont. I mean, they're going to be good.
Yeah.
They might lack, dual wise. They might lack at the top, but
that was probably my surprise last year when I started seeing a lot of those guys show up. I totally overlooked it, and all of a sudden I'm saying, "What in the world? They're scoring some points."
Yep. Yeah, Coach Webster's he's got them going good. They're a good team.
That's a basketball team.
I'm disappointed.
That's what I was told when I went to there.
Duel with them. I want to have that duel with them so bad out in Phillip, just to see how we matched up. But that's the way it goes. So.
Sure. Is there any teams that you don't get to see? Do you get to see Hot Springs besides in the Rapid City tournament? Do you get to see
Lyman? Yep.
Oh, Lyman. They got out to
I was looking the other day. Region 1, Britton Heckla. And I think that's the only team, Region 1. I don't think that we do not see. Out west would be Lemon McIntosh.
Yeah.
Harding County.
Okay.
When you still had the Phillip tournament going on, we seen Harding County. Now we don't.
Okay. Those numbers have been so down. And honestly, since John Donovan left there, it hasn't been the same. We know that. But they've had a lot of talent come out of them. Again, they're ranchers, some strong, tough kids. And for some reason, they'll pull out a heavyweight out of there that's just a dynamite. Every other year that's just dominated people in football or something.
People got to remember though, they got Sam Adams back.
Yep. That's right.
That football injury. I mean, I don't think heavyweight. I think I'll predict he'll be back at 220 and might be rusty out of the gate, but I got a feeling that kid will be at the top.
Mm-hmm. And then there hasn't been much. Lemon's had the Peterson boys forever there for a while with the coach, and now he's not the head coach anymore, Scott and Lemon. And so they've got some stuff. But tell you what, I noticed I was really impressed with some of these, like Chester, getting their wrestling team back. Their old head coach, I don't know if you know who he was, but he was a Williston boy. I'm trying to think, begins with a kid's name now, Reinhiller.
Oh, Reinhiller, yep. Yeah,
he actually, I played some baseball with him at NDSU, and he has brain cancer. So I want to throw him a few prayers out there too.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yep, Mike Reinhiller. And so he was the head wrestling coach, and I know he's the administrator there in Chester for many years. And so anybody has a chance to, wish him the best. I haven't talked to him probably for about a month here, but good dude. He had, in fact, one year when I was first starting the grappler out, we were at the state wrestling tournament, and he goes, "Hey, my school," and maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but he goes, "My school's giving me a room and I'm going home early. Do you want it the last night?" After Saturday finals, he's already got his room. And I said, I already had checked out, and I might as well stick around and do some BS with some of the coaches. So I ended up actually getting together with the referees, and maybe get on the good side of them too every once in a while. Some of those guys always wish me to make sure that, actually, I was saying I thought maybe some of those guys drank before they went out and ref. I always joked with them instead of afterwards. But Rounds was one of them, and I'm trying to think who was the other guy I was with. The guy who always, you'd know his name too. He always had golf or something. He managed a golf place out of Brookings or somewhere in there. Oh man, what the heck? I should remember. I remember old Chester too. He was, I think, not Chester. What the heck? The big black guy from Sioux Falls.
Oh, Chet Jones.
Chet. Yeah, Chet.
Long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And the guy who always looked like he was trying to promote himself during the match. One member, yeah,
Greg Roach.
Yeah, that's kind of funny, as everybody knows who it is when you start describing them. Yeah. So, how about you, Tom? What else? What's on your guys' schedule? Are you gonna make it up to Mandan in about a week here, a little over?
Yep, we got our wrestle-offs coming up Tuesday. They'll start Monday in the room, and then Tuesday night we got a little blue-gray, kind of a nice night to bring fans out and let the kids go through their walkthrough and weigh in and eat and wrestle a match in front of some fans under the light, and then our JV kids will go to Custer next weekend, and
it's a 2-day.
Then our varsity kids, maybe a couple extras depending on the numbers in Mandan, will be in Mandan.
Yeah, because Piers in Mandan this year, that should open up some tough competition right away there.
Well, I tell you what, Central even, they're not going to be any slouch this year either. So, they're going to go to Sydney, Montana and wrestle out there in I think in a dual tournament. But yeah, adding Pier, they're going to be tough this year. They've got some good kids, and it'll be interesting to see, the North Dakota kids and get an opportunity to come up there, and yeah, we'll get her going. And then we've got the Rapid City invite the week after that. And one of the things we talked about before was, this year Travis King and Lance Pearson kind of got together, and, their goal is to we have a second chance tournament on the second day of the Rapid City invite. And for those kids that might go 2-2 or 1-2 or 0-2 on Friday, we try to give them a couple matches on Saturday morning to get them 4 matches or 5 matches for the weekend. And this year we're going to try to put something out there to see if we can start a girls tournament and run concurrent with that for girls 7 through 12, kind of figure the kinks out. I don't know if we're going to have awards or anything, but it may just be an opportunity for some girls to come up and wrestle. There are some girls in our middle schools and our high schools, and some in Spearfish, and I think Central's got one, and Ray might have one down in Hot Springs. I don't know, but there's certainly some around, and if some of those teams could bring some here, might start that going and see how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So more to come on that.
That'd be great. I tell you what, if you guys could get that going, try to. And you'd mentioned that once they get the new facility, they'd like to do it kind of like the Rumble, have a full JV division and all the other stuff.
Yeah, we'd like to do eventually when the new facility's built. I was told I think it could hold 14 mats. Well, right now we get 10 down, and maybe more than that. We could run full JV brackets, full varsity brackets. So teams could bring kids that are a little bit more inexperienced. We get Andal out here that weekend. Bring his team out. And then if his daughter's wrestling, we'll have a tournament for her as well, hopefully. So we'll see.
We'll have to bring her basketball shoes and her wrestling shoes.
Yeah, we could probably get a tournament for basketball and a tournament for wrestling the same weekend.
Yep, definitely.
Well, so we're going to give that a go.
I wish you the best of luck with that. That'd be great to get that going. Okay, we're wrapping up close to that hour. Man, we just fly by. Love having you guys on. Scott, anything big you want to talk about?
I'll run through a little bit on our team.
Yep.
And, we got our wrestle off starting on would have started this weekend, but due to no practice, we'll have practice over the weekend. I'm going to start on Monday with wrestle offs. 106, we got a 7th grader, Dylan McGregor. He'll be battling junior Dakota Buck. I'm not sure. We'll see how that turns out, who will be our 6-pounder. 113, might have started 120, working down to 13. It'll be the second Remmers, Weston Remmers. He'll be pretty solid for us, kind of like his brother. 120, when he goes down, 120 will be one of our senior who's trying to get down there right now, Lane Halls. He struggled through his career, but he's come around the last year, so I'm hoping his senior year, he has a good campaign. 26, I know a lot of people are sitting there, what, are you kidding me? But the kid got big. Just like his dad, he's growing. But Jackson Remmers, he'll cut weight and he'll be our 26 pounder as an 8th grader. And then he's even as an 8th grader, beating against older kids. We're hoping for big things out of him. 132, probably we got 7th grader Logan Rapp, 9th grader Reed Montreal, and got a 7th grader JD Amdahl. They're going to fight it out, and we'll see who wins that spot for a little bit, because we'll have a senior. Jaden Wolf will start at 38. He'll come down to 32. Carter Randall was state tournament last year as a 7th grader at 120. He's all the way. He weighs 148. He's working his way down. He's hopefully start at 45, go to 38. And at 45, an 8th grader, Will Rodert, will probably have to step in there after he drops his 10 pounds. And then
everybody.
52, yeah, everybody's dropping. Yep. Eventually, but not right away. 52, we have a good freshman, Mason Paltz. Did really good as an 8th grader, but got one of those things, middle school tournament. We made a decision, you know what, you're on the outside looking in. We'll put you in the region meet, and I'll be god dang if he didn't come down with strep throat and everything. And I mean, he didn't even get to compete at the end of the year. But so we're looking, he's going to be our 52 pounder. The Shocker, I know the Shocker, they're the world, but last 2 years, state qualifier, state place winner at 170, Jacob Cheeseman. Cheeseman's going to be our 60 pounder because what's happening above him. Gester and Kraus. Kraus really got big, and it'll be interesting. One is going to go 70, one's going to go 82. We'll shake it out here in the Christmas, maybe, who's going where. And then 95, we hope to get the end whistle kid who placed at 82, get him down to 95. He weighs about 210. And 220, we're going to throw a freshman out there. And then eventually we have a sophomore coming down from our last year's heavyweight that filled in for the Rife kid when he was injured. Is coming to 220. And we get, of course, Rife's back at heavyweight. So we're kind of excited, to be honest with you. I'm excited about the lineup. First time we were open at 120 last year, could not get it done. So we are excited, even juggling, whatever we got to do, we can actually, we'll fill all 14 weight classes.
That is awesome. Plus stocks are going up in your town of Weight Watchers.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I tell you what, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to paying attention to your team. I always do. That is great. How about you, Tom? What's your newest news? Anything over there?
We're just getting ready for the season. Kids are getting in conditioning. Kids are trying to figure out where they're going to go. We're kind of stacked up in the lower to mid weights as the bell curve goes. We'll have to figure that out. But our kids are fortunate to get pretty good quality matches no matter where we go. So it'll be exciting, and it'll be interesting with the duels this year. Because based on the numbers and kind of what we talked about tonight, I was kind of thinking to myself, it might be interesting to see who the top teams are individually. They might differ a little bit from the top teams on the dual side, meaning, second, third, fourth might not just be, it'll be a little bit different, based on 50, a lot of good competition spread out this year across the state in the A's.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, for an example, last year, North Dakota team out of Dickinson had a great team overall as it spread them out and won the duel over Bismarck High, who can dominate when they have 5 state champs, individuals. That those points total are different than when you have to put 14 guys in the weight and spread them out. And it was actually came down to a coin flip of where they could move guys, and winning that flip could be a difference in the duel sometimes. Can you move or can't you? Who has to step on the mat first does make a difference. And knowing those rules as a coach, knowing that if it's your turn to step out on the mat first, you get the call for that period also And I've had it where they stepped their guy out on the mat and the guy ran out too soon, and all of a sudden, oh man, the kid made the mistake. You got to have your kids back and prepared.
Right.
Should be fun.
So that'll be interesting to see how that, shakes out at the end of the year. And then, having the opportunity to wrestle a few more duels, making them mean something this year, I think that's important from a state perspective. So, it'll be fun.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to wrap it up. We're over that hour, and you guys are invited on anytime. Tom, I'll have you on many times, anytime you want. Scott, I know you're a busy man, and anytime you want to get on too, if you have anything you want to talk about, feel free. I'm getting on 2 times a week, Sundays and Wednesdays. We can easily get, multiple people on here to talk anything that's going on. And, I consider ourselves, we are the voices of the sport. We have to promote it and make sure that people know what's going on. I'm talking to parents, the fans, anything. And it's kind of our job. So guess what, guys? I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything to do with wrestling, guys. You guys have a great night. And again, God bless wrestling. Everybody is have a good week of wrestling, and have a good Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yep. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep. You guys too.
You betcha. Have a good night. Take care.